Well, my name is Maureen Gaffney Wolfson, and I live in the Valley of California, San Fernando Valley. I started painting almost 60 years ago, and I started painting from heartbreak, and that was therapy for me. So I never gave it up, and I had almost 200 paintings they could have put in here, but they could only get 78. So I've been painting a long time, so I need a lot of therapy.
Also, you're a very active model and actress.
I was a model. I modeled for cold bathing suits way back in the 60s. And I was an actress on the Red Skelton show in 1964. I started, and I was on the show till about 1969 or 68 before he went off the air. But he was on the air a long time. He started when TV was black and white. So he was a well-known comedian back then in those days. And so from there, I also did some movies with Carol Lindley and Ephraim Zimbalist Jr. called The Harlow. And I did one with Raquel Welch called, well, they changed the title. I don't even know what it's called anymore, but it was at the time called A Swinging Summer. And it was one of those beach blanket bingo kind of movies. And then I've done tea room modeling, I've done ramp modeling, clothing. I've designed a line of clothes, so I've done the fashion in Dallas and New York fashion. Anything creative, I put my mind to it, I can do. My mind goes everywhere. And if you look at my paintings, you'll see a lot of different subject matters, not necessarily style, but I think it's more subject matter because when you're painting from your imagination, which I want to do more of, it's not as detailed as when you're painting from a photograph or a portrait of somebody. So you're tighter, but I'm learning still to loosen up. I'm still not there yet, but I'm getting there. And it's taken a long time, but I'm getting there. And I tell a story, and most of my paintings are about my life. And I started off, I was born in Worcester, Massachusetts, and my mother left my father when I was about 3 or 4. I have a painting over there that I did of my mother going to meet my father to pick up the paycheck before he spent it at the nearest bar. But I didn't remember him. I remembered the shadow for 20 years. I remembered him as a shadow on the ground. And I met him again at 23, and that's my father over there. I call him the flirt. And I was so happy to finally meet him and know him. I didn't hold any grudges. I was just happy to know who I was by knowing him. So it's been a lifetime of knowing who I am and what I'm here for and what my journey was meant to be. And my journey is meant to be in the creative and the arts and to paint and to sing. I sing only because it makes me happy. I just love to sing. But this is my first art, is painting. I never stopped painting while I was modeling and acting and so forth. But so I was born in Worcester, and we left, and we lived in Roxbury and Dorchester, which are really rough areas in Massachusetts. I went to parochial school, thank God, because I got religion, and religion is so important. And I gave up on religion at one point. But I lived in Cambridge, and Cambridge, Mass. is not far from Harvard Square, where the university is. And most of the people in our neighborhood were doctors and lawyers and so forth, professionals. So I've lived on both sides of the fence. I know what it is to suffer. I know what it is to see wealth, even though we didn't have it. So actually my mother was divorced by then, and so we were kind of an outrage in that neighborhood, in the wealthier area then. But so I've been on both sides of the fence, but and then we moved to Tucson, Arizona in 1958 or 57, maybe the end of 57. And I lived in Tucson. I was in culture shock because I was looking for all the cowboy and Indians. I'm only like 13 or 14, something like that. And I went to school. I repeated the 7th grade, and I did the 8th grade. And after the 8th grade, I was out on my own at 15. I just turned 16. I was ending my 15th year, and I worked in a panty factory in Tucson, Arizona, and I made $28 a week cleared, and $30 a month I paid for my trailer on a dirt lot. And I said, this isn't for me. I'm going to Hollywood. I said, what can I do with an 8th grade education? I can model. Maybe I can model. And so that's how that began. And then my painting was always while I was I sang in cabarets in New York City while I was studying at the Art Students League. So I've always been kind of using my youth for modeling and acting and singing, but I was always painting because I knew that I wanted to be a very fine artist. It would probably take a lifetime. So I just kept on painting while I was doing all the other.
Now, I know a couple of years ago you got this inspiration, and also a friend of yours told you a story about it. What's the story about? Go ahead.
So my story about how I began was I got a call from a friend and asked if I would like to do a painting for the 1919 invasion of Korea. And I said I would love that because I love to paint history. And so I looked and did research on the 1919 invasion. And after reading all of it, and I took weeks and months with it. My heart broke when I read about Yu관sun. She was only 16 when they captured her, and she was 17, I believe, when she died. And this is a girl that marched into hell because she believed in her religion and in her freedom and for her people. So she suffered for that, for you, for all of us, actually, because all of us should fight for that. That's our right. And so I painted Yu관sun. 4 paintings, I believe, went over the first year, and then maybe 3 more went over the second year to Seoul. And I'm hanging over in the high school that Yu관sun went to. I think they told me it was in the auditorium. So that's how it came about.
Now, when you learn about Yu관sun,
yes,
what kind of emotion and also what kind of feeling that went through your mind that, oh, I got to do something about it. I got to draw her. I got to draw something out of this imagination or the connection that you possibly have with Yu관sun.
Yu관sun, as I said, I cried. I literally cried because I was so young and so brave. And I said, yeah, of everything, I mean, there's so much to paint. This is whom I want to paint. My heart ached for her, and I wanted everyone to know what she did, and I don't want to give the details of what she went through, but just know that she fought hard and believed in her religion and her faith and her people and their freedom. And so I started to paint Yu관sun, and she was with me in spirit. She stayed with me in spirit. As I was saying about this painting over here with the butterfly, I took the painting to be framed, and the next day I went to pick it up. I parked my car, and a butterfly landed right on my windshield. Well, I believe in these butterflies. And I said, oh my God, it's Yu관sun. I know it's you. It's you. And then she stayed a little while, a few seconds, and then she flew off into the distance. So I feel her spirit when I paint her. I've felt her spirit when I painted her. And I put my heart and soul into her. And I want Career to remember her too as an artist. As an artist, yeah.
I mean, we don't want to get too much detail of what happened like
No,
100 years ago.
I'd like to push it aside, yeah.
But if there's people out there who don't really understand what really happened 100 years ago, when it especially comes to Yu관sun, based on your research and knowledge or your emotion, what has happened or what had happened to her, and what does that mean to people in Korea and also people here in the United States as a Korean American?
Well, what happened to her is she was going out and marching, and she handed out flyers, and she was arrested for that. And she was tortured to death. And very, very unbelievable ways. They were very creative in the way they did it. I mean, it was just pathetically sad. I really don't want to go into the detail about how she was tortured. But she never gave in to them. She just didn't give in. She was solid, she was courageous. And I think people should all believe like Yuguan did in their faith, in their religion, in their freedom. And I know that she's up in heaven, and I know that she can look down and she sees how far you've all come since 1919. And she sees your new skyline. She knows you're doing better than when she was here, and she's happy. And hopefully we can do better even more so if North and South would just come to peace. It would be great. That would be great.
Ever since you displayed this paintings, and also I'm sure you introduced those paintings to your friends, people around in the industry, artist community, what kind of reactions did you get, and what did they tell you?
Well, there was one Korean girl that came into the gallery here, and she saw these paintings and she went nuts. She said, "Oh, I got to tell everybody." She didn't know they were here. This is the first time I'm showing them in America, so I really don't have a great response to that, except for this one girl. She wanted to tell everyone. She's here, she lives here, and so she's gone out to tell everybody to come in. She was so excited to see these paintings, and I hope that it would excite more people, if they're listening to this, that they should come in and see Yuguan and study her and believe in her as a martyr. And there are a lot of martyrs that are living and dead today we're still martyring. So, but she was special, very special. I would love if they could come in and see her.
I know 2019 you brought these paintings to Korea, and you met a lot of big shots, people, even your paintings in one of the high schools over there. What was your experience back then, and what was the thing that went through your mind?
Well, we were supposed to fly over, but then we felt that we were too old, and so I did not go because I was afraid of COVID and everything, and I saw everybody walking around with masks, and I got scared, and I said, I want to keep painting. I could keep painting Yuguan, but I love you dearly, Yuguan, but my husband and I we're 80 years old, and I just didn't feel healthy about our age and going over at that time. Maybe when I'm 91, I would go over, because then I really won't care. I would love to go to Seoul. I would absolutely love it. And maybe one day I'll find the courage and do it. But I know that the response over there was great. It was a very good response. As we've shown you pictures of I forgot who it was that was looking
Assembly chair.
The assembly chairman that was looking at it. He loved it, and he actually has one hanging in on his property as well. So, and it happens to be the one that's where she's coming down from heaven. So that's hanging on his property, the government property. And the other one is in Yuguan high school. So I didn't get that opportunity because I didn't have the same courage Yuguan had.
Are you planning to do more with
I would love to do more of everything about Seoul. It's a beautiful country from what pictures I've seen. And I'd like to place her in gardens and happy and up in heaven, and just bring her to earth and just have her be in the new Seoul and see and feel. And I'm sure she does, but I would like to show that to the people. Probably paint her again and put her in the new Seoul, in the gardens, in the new buildings, out in the center of wherever you shop or eat dinner, and just have her there having a feast. Yeah.
I mean, having painted this...
and let her know that everything she went through was all worthwhile.
With all the paintings you've done so far, does that kind of help you kind of broaden your horizon when it comes to Korea, Korean people, Korean
Absolutely.
food?
Absolutely. I think people need to travel more. In that way, they learn about other cultures. And I think that cultures need to accept each other in a way that they're not used to because they're not doing the same way you do, doesn't mean that you can't accept them. You have to accept each other's culture and the way they do things. We all do it a little bit differently. It may not be the way you do it. This is the way I do it. I'll accept the way you do it. That's fine. Accept the way I do it too. We have to share, and accept each other.
Here in the United States, we have a second and third, even fourth generation since we migrated here 120 years ago to Hawaii, as you probably know. But lots of them don't really know the existence of this wonderful historical stories, people such as Yu관순, and also as you remember her, you imagined her, and came up with these beautiful pieces. What could you say or tell this second or third generation who might be interested in getting to know more about what you have found here?
Well, the girl that came in here to see this went and studied the history. She studied her history. She went over to Seoul and she studied the history, so she already knew about it. She hasn't seen pictures like this before, but she knew. And I think that all of us should study our history. And if you enlighten yourself about who you are, what your relatives went through, and that's why you're here today, and that's why you have what you have today. You need to be grateful, be very thankful for the people that fought for you prior to your life. And they made it possible for you to have a better life. And there has to be some appreciation, some humbleness there. And I think that they should study, go online, and like I did, and do your research and find out where you came from, what you're all about, And I think it's great that you're also an American Korean. That's wonderful too. Study American history and then find out what your children that you had here in America are all about. Freedom. And learn about the freedom that we all fight for and for our religion and the freedom of speech. We don't ever want to lose that. You lose that, it's going to go backwards.
Oh, yeah.
It'll go backwards, which I think we're doing now. I think we're going backwards instead of forwards, and we need to go forward. So I think young people need to really investigate and study their history.
What's your plan? Are you doing more of Yu관순, or are you researching something else? Do you have any plan to go to Korea in the near future?
I would like to do, as I said, I would like very much to go to Korea if I can do it, and I will plan on that. I can't say exactly when, because I really want to go to Jerusalem first. I want to walk on the Holy Land. I want to go over there too. So maybe after Jerusalem, I will probably think and ask my husband if he's ready to do it too. And my plan is to keep on painting. What's going to paint? Right now, I'm so busy with this show, and then my mind's been thinking about what I'm going to do. But they're short pieces that enter your mind and then disappear. It's like you think something, I got to paint this. It just came to me. And it disappears, and it's just a short thought. And but I don't lose it. I keep it. So I do have short things, minds of things I want to paint that are still coming to me. And since you mentioned Yu관순, and should I do more of it? Yeah, if the people would like to see more of it, I would do that. I would probably do it anyway because I love her dearly. I just think she's a great soul. And I have a lot of creative ideas. I just have to tune it down. That's hard.
Got it. That's all I have. You want to add anything, or?
I just want to say God bless Korea, God bless America, God bless the world. Amen.
Thank you.
Thank you.